So this is the video blog for the Tip and Thrift Show on WordPress.com. Search www.tipandthriftshow.wordpress.com. Last week we had early prediction for playoffs. We gave our top 4 teams, which was Washington, Clemson, Ohio State, and Alabama. The week before that, we did our early Heisman rankings, and this week, instead of doing an actual post, we also wrote about Malzahn, the beginning of the end. I thought he would be fired. Well, things have changed. Halfway through the season, it looks like he's not on the hot seat, but still 6 games left, so that could change. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about fan bases like Alabama's, and we're going to talk about how dominant Alabama has been, but we're also going to talk about how the Alabama fan base is not appreciative of how dominant they have been. We're also going to talk about what we discussed on this week's show, and we'll discuss some of the guests as well. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in my partner in crime and the co-host of the Tip and Thrift Show, Tip Lynch. Tip, how you doing, brother?
I'm ready for this blog.
Let me ask you something, and you the one that pointed it out to me. Alabama fans on their board before the Tennessee game said that Jeremy Pruitt is not the answer defensive coordinator. He is struggling, and we want Kirby back. Well, after a 49-10 beatdown of Tennessee, I think they changed their mind. Also, Alabama scored a defensive touchdown in every single game they have played thus far this year. Jeremy Pruitt, me and Tip both agree, is probably top 3, if not top 2, defensive coordinator in the country. Bama fans, this is what I'm talking about not being appreciative. You won 49-10. Okay? The week before that, you won 49-30. 30 is a lot of points. You won 49-30. And yet you find a way to criticize Jeremy Pruitt. Tip, do you agree that Bama fans, their expectations are unreasonable, even for the great Nick Saban?
Absolutely, they are unreasonable. You just mentioned it. They were complaining about giving up 400 yards passing to Arkansas. But I don't think Bama fans – I think a lot of Bama fans just look at the box score and go by that. If you watch the games – there's never a time that Bama's defense doesn't come up with a big stop when they need it, a big 3 and out.
Right.
They're responsible for 8 touchdowns defensively alone this year, which is more than some teams have on the entire year, offensively. And if you
could say their defense is better than most offenses in the country. Look at we talked about Rutgers last week, or this week. Your man in the mirror was Rutgers. Excuse me, not this week, last week. It was Rutgers and how they got beat 78-0 and 58-0 to Ohio State and Michigan in 2 weeks in a row. You could say Alabama's defense is better than most offenses in the country. Talking about scoring touchdowns.
Yeah. I watched Jeremy Pruitt as a defensive coordinator at Georgia for 2 years, so I know how his defense, the style that he likes to play, and it involves a lot of creating turnover, scoring opportunities,
right,
which they do very well, better than anybody in the country. They have 27 sacks this season, which leads the country. They're on last year's pace when they led the country in sacks as well. I don't think defense is going to be the problem up there. When they need a stop, they're going to get a stop. When they need a 3 and out, they're going to get a 3 and out. When they need a turnover, they're going to get a turnover. And now they probably have the most dynamic offense they've had since Nick Saban's been at Alabama. That's a really scary thought. So I really don't understand Alabama fans complaining about Jeremy Pruitt when, in fact, if you watch the games and look at what he's done, their defense might be better than last year's.
Another question I would like to ask you is, because of Nick Saban's dominance in college football over the recent 5 to 10 years, do fan bases see that he's won 4 national titles in 7 years and think that now every fan base, especially Power 5, it's championship or bust? Like teams like Stanford and Michigan State, who were not relevant before Mark D'Antonio, David Shaw, and Jim Harbaugh got to said respective program. Before them, Michigan State was an afterthought. Stanford was an academic school, not a football school. So the fact that they have been relevant and Michigan State has made the playoff before Michigan, USC, Auburn, Florida. This is the same Michigan State that's made the playoff. I know it's only been 2 years, but still, you would not expect that of Michigan State. And now this year they are struggling. They are 2-4. Stanford won last week, but they're 4-2 and probably not going to win the Pac-12 after being atop the Pac-12 the last 5 years. And now fan bases are starting to think, well, is it time? Is Mark D'Antonio losing his luster? Is David Shaw losing his luster? Have they won at max potential at Stanford and Michigan State? And the answer is yes, but to go back to the question I'm asking you, has Nick Saban changed the outlook of college football now? And I think if you're a head coach, I would not even go near the SEC if I were you. Because if you don't win a championship or you don't even come close to comparing to Nick Saban, look at Les Miles. He just got fired this past week.
There's two sets of expectations. There's Alabama fans' expectations, which are set by Nick Saban because of the success he has.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you. That's what I'm asking. Is it Alabama fans' expectations starting to go around the entire country now because of how dominant Nick Saban is, and every fan base wants what Alabama fan base has?
That's what I'm saying. There should be two sets of expectations. There's Alabama fans' expectations, and then the rest of the country. The rest of the country should not hold themselves to Alabama standard
At all. And Michigan State, please, I know in Stanford you're both big fans of D'Antoni and Shaw. Please look in the camera and talk to their fan base because they need it bad right now.
Yeah.
I know they're struggling this year, but still.
Stanford, you're going to be fine. Michigan State, you're going to be fine. This happens to every team with the exception of Alabama, where you have a rebuilding year. You've both had a lot of success lately, probably more success than you're used to in your history. And it's a rebuilding year. Man, Stanford's got a new quarterback. Michigan State's got a new quarterback, replacing all kind of senior leaders that they had last year. This kind of stuff happens in college football.
Switching topics, and you're wearing the red of the fan base you cheer for, which is Georgia. Kirby Smart struggling this year. Expectations for you coming into this season was 9-3, 8-4, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think a majority of your fan base saw after North Carolina 10-2, 11-1, and SEC East champ. Well, now throw that all out the window, and you're probably going to finish between 7-5, 8-4 this year, maybe 6-6. Your fan base is going to go crazy, especially the fact that you just fired a guy that's won 10 games the last 2 years in a row, or 3 of the last 4. So my question to you is, what do you tell your fan base? How do you calm them down? Because you know, one bad loss to Auburn, even if you finish 8-4 this year, or 7-5, which is not a terrible year, but that means you would have lost to Florida, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Auburn with Ole Miss. So 3 rivals with Ole Miss. And I just completely forgot the other one I just said. Who was the 5th loss? Florida, Georgia. No, Florida, Georgia, Auburn. Y'all are Georgia.
Ole Miss.
I'm struggling again, guys. You see now on video, if you listen to the show, 88.5 WCUG Cougar Radio every Tuesday and Thursday from 6 to 7. If you don't have a radio near you, it is okay. Go to TuneIn Radio app, search WCUG for crystal clear live streaming. And every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we have a podcast that gets uploaded to our own SoundCloud page. Go to SoundCloud, search Tip and Thrift Show, follow the page, and listen to us every Monday through Friday. We upload a show every single day. Florida, Auburn, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. There's the 5th team. Now, my question to you is this. Is it time to overreact and say that you didn't get the right guy? Or do you say maybe there wasn't as much talent as we thought there was on this team?
Well, it's clear there obviously isn't as much talent, because otherwise Georgia would not struggle against Nicholls State, Missouri.
But you got to put a little bit on coaching, not just on talent.
There's a lot. I'm not going to say it's 50-50 because there are some talent issues, but there's coaching issues as well. But again, it's 7 games into Kirby Smart's first year. I think you got to at least let him coach a full year before saying anything, and then really before making a judgment, I would wait and see what happens in year 2 for Kirby Smart, because you should know after year 2 whether or not he's going to win.
I completely agree with you. He should get his 3 years. My only thing to Georgia fans is that if you want him to succeed, you have to allow him to change the culture of the program and bring his guys in and do it his way. If you're not going to give him full support, like you did Mark Richt, I find it hard to believe that he's going to be successful. I find it hard to believe that anybody would be successful. Do you agree?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that 100%.
All right, I want to talk about one more thing before we end this video blog. Also, remember to make sure to listen to the Tip and Thrift Show Monday through Friday. Also, we are officially supported by the Tip and Thrift Show podcast by Nothing Was Handed. Get your Nothing Was Handed shirt like I'm wearing right now. Tip's wearing it before too on Facebook. Go to www.nothingwashanded.com. All right. We normally do tips guarantees. We're going to do that on Thursday's show. Make sure to listen. We have Chad Dixon on. We had Wendell Barfield. We also have Josh Pate on. Make sure to listen to the Tip and Thrift Show. But before ending that, I'm going to ask you this, and we talked about this on Wednesday's podcast. After last night's debate, and we're not talking about who we're voting for. This has nothing to do with that. We're talking about who had the best barbs, who made fun of each other the best, who interrupted and had the funniest comments. And I know this is not what you would think you would want to talk about after a debate, but we think the debate is a joke. So this is the point of us making fun of it. So with that being said, how do you think it went?
Trump won, Hillary 0.
It's three.
Won.
There's three of them.
Yeah.
There's 1-1.
But he won last night, so I'm giving it to last night.
I'm going tie, and I know that's bad on my part. I should pick a winner. But last night, it didn't have a lot of luster. I saw Trump come on at the end with a couple of bars trying to attack Clinton. But, again, I can't pick a winner. They're both bad. That's all we have to say about it. Make sure to listen to the Tip and Thrift Show. Thank you for listening to the blog. Check us out. Like us on WordPress.com. We'll see you next week.